Hey guys, this is Manshark Sub LPs. I'm Sub, this is Crusader Kings II, and this is Millennia in the Making Episode 11. As before, we're still playing as Duke Otto of Brunswick, formerly Saxony. We're trying to become King of East Francia. That's our rather ambitious ambition. We'll see how that goes. We're also plotting to kill some poor sucker. That's coming along fairly nicely. We're just going to invite this fellow here, Matthias, to join in. Just because he will, and a little bit more plot power is fine. So we'll start the game up. Whenever you reload the game, the speed will always default. Well, it will always load paused, but it will always default the speed when you unpause to the slowest speed. So you just want to click the faster button to speed it up a bit. We're playing on this second slowest speed just so that we have the time to react to things that happen. It's a classic, there we go, to the Honourable Duke Otto, peace be with you, an intriguing scheme. I believe I will indeed back your plot to kill Adalbert Babenberger. Now the reason why we're killing, or attempting to kill Adalbert here, is because he is the heir to the county of Thuringen. He also doesn't like us because he knows that we're trying to kill him. But he's the heir to the county of Thuringen, and Inge Babinger, or Inge, she is betrothed to our first son, so we would like her to be the, next in the line of succession. We are also at war with the Jarl of Holland. You can see down here, Jarl Hrodolfr. Here he is. Defender is always on the right-hand side. And he's in the war with King Sigurd Snake in the Eye and King Bagseg of Jylland. These little percentages just measure their contribution to the war. You can see the King of Jylland has just entered the war, so he has 0. Jarl Hrodolfr really hasn't done anything to defend himself. But King Sigurd over here, I'm not quite sure what the 15,984 represents, because he certainly has not contributed that many men, but we fought a massive battle and killed all his dudes. I think there were three battles that we chased down his army and defeated it, so we currently have 64% war score. However, he thinks the war is indecisive, so he won't take peace. He'll take a white peace, but that's bad for us. We wish to enforce our demands. And while we just head over here to Friesland to occupy it, you'll see that some additional things have popped up here. Because the casus belli of the war was a holy war, so it is technically, the Brunswickian holy war for Gelerair. What this normally would have done is the Catholic plus free moral authority for 20 years, Norse minus free moral authority for 20 years, Jarl Hrodolfr would lose 100 piety and 50 prestige, and we would get all of the titles in Friesland and Ostfriesland, and any Catholics in here would become our vassals. We're also getting a bit of piety and prestige from contributing to the war. This would happen even if we weren't the primary participant. For example, Count Sigurd here should be getting a little bit of prestige and piety because he's contributing a bit to the war. So, good on him. We've just begun the siege of Groningen. We're definitely not assaulting that. It's packed full of men, so we're just going to let its morale slowly drop, and great. We still have this title loss on succession issue, but we've managed to mitigate that somewhat. And King Louis the Great, here he is defending against King Charles the Bald, and we're allied to King Charles the Bald in the West Francian War for Italy, Burgundy, and Boulogne. We're doing really well in that. I wouldn't be too surprised if we just won that. Even though we're only at 36% war score, we should be doing alright there. See down here, Barcelona has become independent. If you remember all the way back to the first few episodes, the Umayyads here, which actually, yes, okay, that's a bit interesting, but the Umayyads had taken Barcelona, which was actually this area here, so something really strange has happened, and the Duchess of Barcelona has somehow managed to maintain her title. But yeah, what's just happened there is there's a little bit of an independence thing that's apparently succeeded, and good on them. On the map screen you can see that we have some glowing red borders here. That indicates who we are currently hostile to. So there's the King of Holland's armies, well, the King of Holland's lands, the King of Zeeland, who is leading this army down towards us. That's fine, we'll let them come. And the King of Shalland, who also owns a province up here, which, well, two provinces up here. The provinces of Finland and Satakunda. So that's kind of interesting. They're also at war with the King of West Francia because they're trying to take the EU, which is this little province here. And that is totally not how it's actually spelled. Or, that is how it's spelled, obviously, but it's not how it's pronounced. It's probably O or EO or something like that. Okay, so what the armies of Zeeland here are probably doing is heading over to Ostfriesland to try and win back the territory that we've taken. It's a very smart idea. And when they get there, we'll have to compare who will win their siege first and make a decision based on that. So yes, he will get there on the 11th of June. There he is. But no, he's going to keep moving into Gelre for some reason. He might not actually be moving to involve himself in this war. I know he's an ally in it, and you can see down here he's an ally in it. But he is also... oh no, I was wrong. He is not involved in any other wars. That's the King of Shalland. So I'm not quite sure what this guy's doing, but we'll see. He'll move into Gelre on the 22nd. He might be moving to bolster up some land in West Friesland, because if we attack from Friesland into West Friesland, we're crossing a strait. You can see here, there's a strait across the Waddenzee, which is this little area here, to Friesland, and if we just click this button, we can see, yep, that's there. If we attack across it, we take a significant penalty in terms of combat. But yeah, he's heading down to Sticht, and yes, he's just moving to ignore our lands, our occupied lands, and our army. So that's kind of interesting. Just check on the plot, that's going fine. Everything seems to be going quite fine. We could get a few more military, but it's really kind of pointless. An important thing to note is while levies don't reinforce, like, to reinforce your levies you have to lower them and then raise them again, and that puts them all back in your lands and all that sort of stuff. Retinues reinforce no matter where they are. Ideally, towards the later stages of the game, we will be able to have an army comprised solely of retinues. Count Poppo of Thuringian has founded a faction. Well, that's kind of interesting. Let's just check any factions that we could form. We could put ourselves forward for Bavaria. Where is Bavaria technically? So this area here. We don't hold this little area down here, and you can see it's currently being incorporated into the Kingdom of Italy. It takes 100 years for a duchy to move, and the holder of the main title that is trying to move it to must hold the entire duchy. The same thing can happen for kingdoms and empires. And you can see up here we're incorporating the Duchy of Saxony into the Kingdom of East Francia, so it will be removed from Pomerania. That's alright. it's not anything we have to worry about at this stage in time. So let me just check out this part. Yeah, you see, it's not having any effect on whether it's part of the Wendish Empire or not, because, well, we don't hold the entire kingdom of Pomerania. If we did, our lot in life would be a lot easier, technically speaking. Okay, so this army was moving up to West Fryland and has now stopped, which is odd. Now they're moving back. They could also be trying to involve themselves in... No, they couldn't be involving themselves in King Louis the Great's war to revoke Ostfryland, because the King of Jylland is not involved in that war. There's the army again. We lost sight on it for a moment because the Württemberg army moved, so it was no longer adjacent to a province. They are probably going to just try and smash that army, maybe get a little bit of war score back. Guntram has reached 6 years of age, and so now we must choose a educator for him. He's not great at anything except for martial. We don't want him to be good at intrigue. That is kind of vital. And we don't want him to be good at intrigue simply because... So he would be if we just let this happen. Simply because he's a half-brother. So what we might do is educate him in the ways of learning. We'll give him to Ludwig, the Prince Bishop of Bremen, and tell him to educate my child. In the event that we force him to become a monk or a member of the clergy, that will ensure that he isn't a bad member of the clergy, and we may be able to get some use out of him in the future. So in terms of economy, monthly income has popped up, but the monthly expenses are there too because we have levies raised. We're actually accruing fairly significant opinion penalties, so I hope that we can end this war very soon. That would be very good. And we're currently building the next level of castle walls. We're upgrading our castle walls in Lundberg. That will allow us to build some of these things. We could get jousting lists down here, would give us some heavy cavalry with a bit of a buff to them. We'd also be able to get training grounds, which increases army morale, the rate at which your levy reinforces in this province, and it increases your retinue size by 20 points. We could also get the next level of castle town. But increasing the retinue size by 20 points doesn't do too much for us at the moment. If we have a lot of places, then that really starts stacking up. Trade practices in Weimar increased. That's not something I particularly care about. Okay, this siege will be over in about 2 months. Maybe 1.5 if we're lucky. So we just kind of wait it out, see what happens. I'd like this plot to actually go ahead and, you know, kill this guy. The Pope doesn't like us because we're dishonorable, so, you know, tough. And we've kind of got half-half with the vassals. My daughter Agnes is not exerting herself in her studies. I am starting to despair. 3 options. She's just dense. What can I do? That gives her the slothful trait, but you can see because the event's fired, she already has that trait. Talk to her about being diligent, which is a 50% chance that she becomes diligent, which always a good thing. And what was it, a 40% chance that she loses slothful, 10% chance or nothing, or we can pray for her soul. Yeah, so let's talk to her about being diligent. She has taken our advice to heart and become diligent, so she's got pretty good stats here for a kid. And we'll see in about a year, half a year really, when she actually, you know, becomes an adult, what sort of stat she gets. She should get a martial stat, which would be kind of nice, but, you know, she also has a very high diplomacy, just by not having anything, which is great. She doesn't have any really low stats. Intrigue's a bit on the low side, but it's not super low. And come on, just tick over, and we'll take the castle of Groningen. There we go. So that's bumped the war score up to 71%. He still thinks the war is indecisive. That's alright, because we'll quickly take this city. However, we have successfully captured somebody. Countess Arsenda of Freiland, who is the wife of the Count of Freiland. Sounds like somewhere where you go to McDonald's or something. Anyway, we could ransom her for 10 gold. He'd accept. Or she would accept. We could execute her. No one will object, but it costs us a little bit of piety. Or we could release her, which doesn't really do anything to us. So we're going to ransom her for some cash. And we should get a response soon. Which will tell us... Come on, where is it? There we go. To the magnificent Duke Otto, your wisdom and mercy are legendary. I accept paying your ransom for the safe return of Countess Arsenda. So she's been released, and we got 10 more gold. Good for all the family. Just click around our holdings, see if we can build anything. Yeah. I prefer to let my vassals do their own stuff. So the Wurtembergians are gonna... Wurtembergians? They're going to lose this battle. Just because they're outnumbered 4-1. And there's no real terrain benefiting them or anything like that. However, the Jarl of Holland, Jarl Hrodofer, is leading that army. They're actually going to reinforce pretty strongly, so that could be an issue in the future. There are 1,600 of them, and they're actually... Well, they were headed into my territory. They've stopped. You've just won a siege. Wonderful. Next siege should be fairly swift too. So war score's at 81%, but the war is still indecisive. He will likely force us to go to 100% simply because it's a religious war and he's of an opposite religion. This happens a lot in Crusader Kings II, where you're basically forced to completely just obliterate the enemy, sort of thing, to make any sort of gain. It happens less when you're going to war with somebody of your religion because they like you a bit more, or like you, they don't hate you as much, is what I'm trying to say there. Yeah, so this vassal opinion thing, it's not too big of an issue, simply because the guys who don't like us the most are mayors and bishops, and we don't really care too much about them. And the counts and countesses, they're all pretty happy with things. We had a lot of political capital, if you will, to keep on track. So the question is whether we build the castle town upgrade next, or the keep. Let's have a look at that. We have 646 in the levy. If we build the next level of keep, we increase the levy by 5%. So that's about... Oh, geez, what's that, 30 guys? Yeah, that's about 30 guys. But... Okay, wait, 30 guys. If we build the barracks, we get 45 guys. Good guys too, I mean heavy infantry are wonderful. If we build the stables, we get 45. If we build the next level of a militia training ground, we get 100. And if we get more, you know, castle town stuff going on, then we get more tax. It's a real decision, isn't it? I mean, as I've... Nope, the king has declared himself the Great. Cool story. As I've explained previously, I do like to build up the more economy side of things. We've just taken Dockham, the bishopric of Dockham, or the temple. It's actually a bishopric, that's great. So now we have our ticking war score appearing because we control all of the holdings that Jarl Haraldolfr normally controls in the Duchy of Gelre. So the war is still indecisive. What we could do is come down here and besiege these places, or we could try and take on his armies. Taking on his armies is a little bit of a gamble, I must say. So, we're just going to have a look here. Oh, that's wonderful. He's raised all of the levy out of Alkmaar here. So that makes it a fairly easy target for besieging. Let's just send our guys over that strait. There's no army there, we can see that. So, they will be able to make this crossing just fine. I don't know why the King of Zeeland is just sitting there. He's not at war with the Kingdom of Lotharingia. Holland is. Anyway, yes, we can see here that we'll win this a little bit faster than your normal siege. Just a little bit. Faster the better. Because we are kind of on a time limit here with this vassal opinion penalty thing. Let's just check out how our children are going. As mentioned earlier, Agnes is, well, on the 24th of July this year she should become an adult. Ludolf is still getting educated. He's a little cynical, which isn't great, but it's not too much of an issue. Makes him a bit better at intrigue. Berta is ill for some reason. She's also an angry little child. Guntram has just started. And Winfrieda here has some nice base stats, but she's only 3 years old. We've just built castle walls in Lundberg. We would have to hold off to get another 100 gold to be able to get the next level of Castletown. Castletown, that is. So we might just... okay, so we'd get 100 there, 45 there. Fort level from that, which is important eventually, but not when we're trying to get money and men. Or barracks there. I think we could do with a few more archers coming out of that place, so let's go over militia training ground. Because, if you remember back to the battle screen, a battle always begins with skirmish and then moves to melee and then moves to the retreat or pursue phase. It's important to have archers during the skirmish just to inflict initial casualties. Not too many, because then, you know, when the melee phase comes, your archers will get utterly smashed by the, you know, men-at-arms and heavy infantry and such. Karl von Adstadt has once again told everybody that we're trying to kill this bro. So this is not going too well for us. I mean, where is he, Karl? We could just tell him to stop backing our plot. But really, we kind of need everybody that we've got here. So we're just going to keep it going. Hopefully the king isn't disliking us because of this a little bit. So we're going to take our bishop, not our bishop, our chancellor, who is also a bishop, from fabricating claims in Cologne to trying to improve diplomatic relations with our king. So let's work out where the king is. He is currently leading troops in Reims. Wonderful. But now what we need to do is try and find where his primary dam holding is. So that's a little bit of an issue. I think it's Baden? No, it's actually Nassau. You could tell because he's got the big shield up here. That's quite interesting. I think it's his primary title anyway. Oh well, let's take a bit of a gamble on that and just dump our chancellor there, improving relations. Always important that your liege lord likes you. Otherwise he may tell you to, you know, fuck off or something like that. Which would not be a good thing. Not in the current state of affairs anyway, when we're trying to bolster our everything. Oh, this is bad. Actually, no, it's not bad. This is our nephew. This is fine. This is actually pretty good for us. Luitpold Lodolfinger is now of legal age. He has become an indulgent wastrel. That indulgent wastrel thing is the career attribute that he's got. You can see it here. -1 diplomacy, +1 stewardship. It's a terrible career attribute. Like, it's abysmal. It's the worst stewardship one that you can get. Fortunately, he's patient, he's humble, he's brave, he's content, and he's charitable. We may give this guy some land in the future. Just because he's content and he's not too good. As it is, though, we would like to manage our dynasty, so we're going to try and arrange a marriage with someone. Let's see, he currently lacks for intrigue, but we don't want him to have intrigue. Simply because... Let's see, where is he on our line? He's not even in our line. That's good. So, he is not in a good position to inherit anything. He will most likely lose these claims when he dies and does not give them to his heir. Whoever his heir is. Currently it would be Benedicta here. Maybe. Anyway. We would like him to remain in our court. If we marry him off to a landholding noble in foreign lands, he will move to their court. That's not great for us because we want him around. Also because then they could try and press these claims, given the particular circumstances which you can claim weak claims in. We'd like him to be a little bit more, I guess, diplomatically or learning inclined. So, we're going to marry him to this fine Irish lass here. She's a good Catholic. She's Grey Eminence, so she's got plus fertility, and that's the best diplomacy trait. So we could get her to come to our realm and educate our children based on this. She's a member of the that Irish dynasty. She's of the Irish culture group. Sebadan. She's the daughter of Bishop Ongus of Cloyne. She's got no real negative traits. That's cool. And yes, so we'll just click on her. And we'll see Luitpold will gain 10 prestige from marrying into House Jorganak's Rifeland, and -100 from marrying the relative of a bishop. We don't have any prestige gain or whatever from this. And yep, this will all be accepted. Done. And now we see whether he moves there or she moves here. She should move here. Let's see. Yep. Peace be with you. I accept your suggestion that Luitpold and Sebdan get married. Wonderful. And Sebdan Nick Ongus has arrived at your court. That's great. Make babies. And they're also both 16 years old, so you know, they should go at it like a couple of teenagers. Hopefully. Right. Agnes Lodolfinger is now of legal age. She has become a tough soldier. So, that's the second worst martial career attribute. It's not bad. She gets a bit more health and a bit more martial. She loses some learning. But, you know, she's a pretty all-round kind of woman. And I'll tell you what, if she ran at me carrying a mace, you know, screaming, I'd run away. Okay, so we can try and marry her to some kings, or betroth her to some kings. The King of Asturias, or the King of Great Moravia. Now, if I remember right, we'll just get rid of that. This is Great Moravia here. We have been at war with these guys at some stage. Yep, see, you've got a -25 there because we've declared war on him at some stage. We won't be able to set up any sort of matrilineal marriage because he's a king, and that's just not how it works. Let's see. The current line of succession for the Kingdom of Great Moravia is Zdenka, and then Mojmir and Mojmir. So, Zdenka is this one, then I don't know where these Mojmirs are. Let's try and search for those. So, find characters. We're not searching in our realm anymore. So we click on search all. And let's see if I remember the spelling. That's wrong. It was Mojmir. Let's see if we can get... It was Mojmir Mojmirson or something. Okay, well that's not helping us too much because it has... It's narrowed it down a little bit, but it's flagged up everybody who is either called Mojmir or who is of the Mojmirid family. But we can see here, we have a Mojmir here. That is probably one of the heirs. And let's just see. We've got another Mojmir here. But he is not of the particular family, so I doubt that he's actually the one. This guy probably is. And that would make sense. He's the Count of Nitra. And this guy up here is the son of the Count of Mitra. So, what's happening with Great Moravia's succession is Zdenka, here, would become Queen of Great Moravia. We may... yeah, see, maybe if we'd married, what's his name, off to Zdenka here, it would have been a lot better for us. That's unfortunate. And our son is only 6. So, let's see, that would be 10 years. She was 16, if I remember right. Let's just check that. 16. We're going to try something a little strange here. Let's just put that to the side. Arrange betrothal with Guntram. She will not accept it because he is too young. This is going to be somewhat irritating because what we should have done is taken Luitpold here. We can't force a divorce. Nope. Nope, we certainly can't. Oh well. Let's just have a quick look at who we could marry off to Princess Zdenka here, if anybody. Macgirak, von Herford, Lowborns, and von Bardewick. All of them are old. They're too old. And the Lowborns can't enter into a non-matrilineal marriage anyway, I think. Let's just check that. Yes, lowborn males must marry noble women matrilineally. Let's check our betrothal lists. Let's just clear everything and check betrothals. So, we could marry Morgan here. But that's not going to help us. Guntram is the only one, and he is too young. Now, even if he is not too young, he would still prefer, like the king here will still prefer that his sister enters into a matrilineal marriage very strongly, so that may not even be a thing. We definitely can't invite her to court. So, let's have a look at the Mojmirs. Even though they have the same name, we know that this guy, the Count of... Nope, that's the wrong guy. This guy, the Count of Nitra, is older than his, son, obviously, so he would be the second in line here. He is married, however. Let's have a look at this guy, his son. I doubt we'll be able to arrange any sort of betrothal. Well, a matrilineal betrothal. Nope. So that's not great. Let's just go back to his character, go to his father. Svatoplak Svatoplukvi Mojmirad. Right, some guys who are Tengri. So, while that would have been nice, it's not really anything that we can do. Nope, that's the king, not me. Even so, I would like to marry her off to somebody. Asturias, by the way, is down here at the top of the Iberian Peninsula, so it's kind of out of the way. But we would get alliances out of it, and that's kind of a big thing. If we marry her to the King of Great Moravia, or betroth her, and in 3 years marry her, then we would get an alliance with Great Moravia. Until this guy dies or she dies. Let's just have a quick scroll down. There's really nobody all that exciting here. I mean, there's... we could forge an alliance with the Basilius of the Byzantine Empire, which, if I remember right, yeah, that's going pretty strongly, but it is still very far away, technically speaking. So let's just age... well, no, we'll rank match him. I think we're going to betroth her to this guy. So we get 18 prestige out of this. You know, fine. It's fine. And he'll respond in about 12 days with a message saying, yes, I would love to marry your tough soldier of a daughter. And that'll be great for us, because then we'll get an alliance with this guy. Yes, he has decided to accept my suggestion of a betrothal. And if we come up here, maybe refresh it a little bit. No, we probably have to wait for the actual marriage to happen before he becomes an ally. But the good part there is when we eventually lead our rebellion to become the King of East Francia, he may join in and help us out. Which would be good. It's like an extra 2,000 guys. We've almost won this war just through ticking war score, but, well, Jarl Hrodolfr doesn't think we have, and he's telling us to, come on, you pansy. That could be taken the wrong way. So, once this finishes, or once a few more of these war score ticks have taken place, we'll be able to just force peace on him. We're having a little bit of an issue down here in the West Francian War. That's fine. As I explained last time, I don't particularly want us to win that war, because it will mean that the King of West Francia owns all of this as well, and he basically dominates Western Europe, and that will not be a good thing. I mean, to be completely fair, he is also running under Gavelkind succession, which means that when he dies, which would be soon, considering he's 62 years of age, all of his titles should be split. So any kingdoms that he's holding just get split. So you'd have a West France, if he wins this war, you'd have West Francia, you'd have Lotharingia, and you'd have Italy. So actually he's not going for Lotharingia, he's going for Burgundy. So you'd have a kingdom of West Francia, a kingdom of Burgundy, and a kingdom of Italy, all separate. At least that's what should happen. Got a new cardinal. We seriously just do not care about cardinals and the Pope right now. I mean, to be fair, the Pope doesn't particularly care about us. The leader of the Catholic faith tends to look poorly on people who try to murder other Catholics. Okay, a couple more ticks and this war score, no, not the war score, this siege will be over. Bishop Herman of Gera has died of severe stress, which has elevated Bishop Emilrach here into the position. That's pretty good. He's content, so he's fine. That does mean that this army here has lost one of the commanders of its flanks. We can't change anything right now because they're in the middle of a siege. So we just wait for that to end, which it should do very soon. No. Okay, we just had an event happen, which is a bit bad. Food and supplies have been smuggled into Alkmaar, which increases the morale by 10%. So now we have to wait an additional 24 days. But we just constantly just check this particular thing, just because that ticking war score is really helping us here. So what we can gather from this is I've won the war. And that's great, because after this, we'll just have to have a nice period of peace while all these guys start to like us again. Now, I believe the reason why, apart from just having their men up, there we go, let's just declare victory. So we've got 100%. We don't need to send the peace offer to him and wait for a reply. We instantly win. There you go. The Brunswickian Holy War for Gelre has ended. Duke Otto of Brunswick has won. Now we have a little bit of a thing here. We need to send our guys back to Freiland. And then we can disband them. If we tried to disband them here, we would lose about half of them. Apart from the retinues. Anyway, we've got some messages. I have become the Baron of Borkum, the Baron of Auric, and the Count of Ostfriesland. So, few problems. First on the thing, we're holding the wrong types of holding in our demands. We're holding the City of Auric and the Bishop of Borkum. We can't hold those without penalties. You can see here we're attracting taxation penalties because we're not a mayor and we're not a priest. We're a noble. We shouldn't hold cities or bishoprics. So they're both in this land. And you can see it's helpfully warning us all over the place that holder is of wrong holding type. And there's probably a rebellion risk there going on. That should go away fairly soon. Because we are German and Catholic, so, you know, that's great. We're also getting the issue that on death, Gregor of Freiland, this chap, will be passing his title back to the Jarl here. That is somewhat of an issue. Because he's not going to have any children. Okay, we're also getting told that our demands is too big, which it is. We have 6 of 5. We can create the title of the Duchy of Gelre when we have 164.2. Now, we don't own the entirety of the duchy, but because we own over 51%, we can declare it. So, what we'll do in our attempt to stop this vassal inheritance warning, well, not stop it, but alleviate it in the future, is as soon as possible we will create this duchy. That will mean that we'll have to give away the Duchy of Saxony, because we don't want to hold too much, which is it's a slight issue, but you know what, having more land is worth it. We'll technically be giving up a fair amount of land over here, but this land is kind of, well, it's not shitty. It's underdeveloped. Whereas Brunswick is the pride of what we have. But if we get the Duchy of Gelre title, what we can then do is declare war on this guy, or just demand that he vassalize. And he may actually do it because we will be his de jure liege. And that'll be fine. He looks like a pretty stand-up bloke. He's also a good German Catholic. And we will also be able to declare war on, eventually, Jarl Rodolphe here. So what we're kind of gambling on here is that we raise the 160 or so gold before Gregor dies. So, Gregor is also quite a soldier. This celibate thing is his main issue though. So while the army comes back, let's just see what we can do. We're just going to right click on the bishopric here and create a new vassal. And we're going to do the same for the county of Auric. City of Auric, that is. And you can see that's removed those penalty markings. And we still hold the castle of Norden here. We're getting some penalties associated with it just because we recently conquered it. But we don't have to deal with any sort of Norse religion or something. And same over here, these guys will be good Catholics. Yeah, that's why we've vassalized them instead of just taking their stuff. Okay, the army has reached its destination, so we tell them to leave, and we take our men and put them back over in Luxembourg. And we get Victor out of the army just because. So we'll see this opinion modifier start to decline. Well, we've got a little bit of an issue here. The father was very upset, and I had to promise him I would look into the matter. His daughter had supposedly been raped by Marshal Bishop Heinrich, and the father demanded the marshal's head on a plate. So, we can fine him for his crime. I believe we lose 20 gold from that, but we also may have a chance of getting the arbitrary stat, which is not good. And the peasants in Braunschweig will be a little bit upset with us. We can imprison him, in which case we imprison him and there's a 25% chance of us getting the just trait, but we already have that. Or, I don't believe this. The daughter must be lying. Which, 50% chance of no effect, 25% chance we get kind, and 25% chance we get arbitrary. We're already kind. We're already just. What we're going to do is imprison the guy. I don't know why Bishop Heinrich has come up here. He is not actually our marshal. Actually, yes, he is. Why is he our marshal? Anyway, we imprison him. So he is no longer, well, marshal. We have an open slot to fill. And I have just the man for the job. Gregor is now training troops in Luxembourg. And you can see, because he has such a huge martial stat, he is adding almost half of the levy to itself, and it reinforces it almost double the rate. And he really likes us. He's really a good fellow. It's just a shame that he's, celibate, not had or having any children. Yeah, so. Uh-oh. Renewed jihad. The holy city of Jerusalem, where the prophet was taken up to heaven, has fallen to infidels. His magnificence, Caliph al-Mu'taz, will not let this stand, and has declared that another era of great conquests is upon us, such as was the case in the days of the first caliphs. The Da'al Islam must be defended. All righteous Muslim men should prepare to join the ranks of the Mujahideen for the upcoming struggles. This signals a renewed era of Islamic expansion. Disturbing news. Now, that isn't actually a declaration of war or anything like that. Up to this point, there have been no crusades, jihads, or great holy wars. That's because, despite it being called Crusader Kings, that can't happen until a certain point in history. We've just reached the point where the Islamic nations, in particular I believe I think it was the Sunni, well it would have to have been the Sunni because the Shia branch of Islam has not actually formed yet. So that's another thing that, becomes historically accurate. And we come down here to, what is this, Jerusalem somewhere? Yeah, see, Jerusalem is actually currently held by an Orthodox leader, the head of the Byzantine Empire. There it is, Jerusalem. And because of that, well, now the Caliph, the Sunni Caliph, can declare jihads, which are the Islamic version of the crusade in this game. And we've got some more things turning up. The Bektashi Order, a Sufi sect of dervishes, has arisen under the leadership of a certain Haji Baktash Wali, a mystic from Khorasan. So here he is, Baktash. Striving for unity of being, Bektashis train the soul through meditation and contemplation of the inner meaning of the Quran. The Bektashi order is warlike and especially popular among Sunni Muslim soldiers. The order has sworn to protect Islam and to combat infidels and polytheists of all kinds. Mystic soldiers? Pah! So, with his magnificent martial stat of 21, he has formed a holy order. We can't see it because we can't, like, activate them as we're Catholics. Over time, we will gain our own Catholic holy orders, such as the Knights Templar, and the Knights Hospitaller, and things like that. All religions get that sort of thing. I think that the pagan religions and the Zoroastrians, maybe, only get it after they have reformed. Anyway, we've got our new goal, which is to form the Duchy of Galre, to prevent or mitigate some land loss, and also to pick up the county of Galre here. If we were king, this would be a lot easier. Unfortunately, there's that antivirus warning again. Unfortunately, we're going to have some difficulty, becoming king. Technology's coming along nicely. We're going to invest in something here. I'm not too concerned about cavalry, but I would like an additional bit of siege equipment. That means that we besiege places faster, and we defend places better. So basically, our sister is dead. That's fine. Never liked her anyway. However, it means that we no longer have the ally of Count Lothar here. Doesn't really matter too much, because when he dies, which he will soon-ish, which would be a shame because he's been quite a good spy master for us, but when he dies, Lothar Udanen here, who is a nephew, should become our ally. Anyway, yes, we're going to be raising enough money to get the Duchy of Galre, get a little bit more land, and just see what that means in terms of faction strength. We might try and just gauge some of our faction strength here in a moment. Let's just deal with this pop-up event. My Duke, word has reached me that your court chaplain has accused me of heresy. I implore you as a devout Catholic to another devout Catholic. That shouldn't have happened. Yes, he's in Osnabrück to proselytize. I must have... Yes, that's been an accident. I don't care about this guy. He's not my liege, so I'm sure he is a heretic. Yep, wonderful. Great. Now, a while ago we must have inadvertently placed our court bishop here to proselytize. We don't want him to do that. Let's just check out our bishop vassals. Okay, so this guy isn't paying us money. He will be soon because he does... No, wait. He will be soon because he does like us more than a pope. This guy's paying us money. These two are not. Gottfried here, it would be better if he was. Understandably, Heinrich is not because, well, we imprisoned him, didn't we? Okay, so what we're also going to do, just for a bit of opinion here, is that we're going to release Heinrich, and that will improve all of our vassals' opinion of us by 5. And it also gives him the opinion boost against us because we released him from prison. That's great. Anyway, back to the opinion screen. He still doesn't like us as much as the Pope, but he would only pay us 11. Siegfried would only pay us 7.6. Gottfried would pay us a lot more. He is reigning in Munster, which is this province here. So now we make sure that we click on the right one, which is improve religious relations, and drop him in Munster. The Sorbians are really invading places a bit. There's a revolt in Shalland. We may take advantage of this revolt shortly. Just to take a little bit more land. Maybe even form the Duchy of Holstein and take some stuff. Maybe. We don't want to form too many duchies because we do eventually have to give them away. And because we are a duke and not a king, that's not great for us. Also, they would just split normally anyway. And you can see here the title loss in succession. We would now lose Ostfriesland to Guntram, and we would probably lose that and, well, we'd lose that and Weimar from our entire domain because of we would also lose the Duchy of Saxony title. Now, what we would try and do if there were issues would be we'd try and grant Luidolf here the county of Weimar, but it won't actually let us do that because that would be subverting the Gavelkind succession laws. Anyway, I think we've made some decent progress in this episode. Next time, we'll look at continuing to gain some more money. And we really don't want to spend any of it just yet. But, and eventually this place, in about half a year, will start actually giving us some money. But yeah, next time we may take advantage of this independence war. Here it is. Wonderful. So, yes, he's actually split a fair, like 2 provinces, I think. Maybe. Okay, this is actually the leader of the revolt, so he's split 2 provinces away. That's alright. Ooh, nasty. Anyway, the idea here is that next time we may come over and try and take the county of Laibach here. That would be fortunate because it will rid us of a Slavic neighbor. Yes, it will rid us of another Slavic neighbor, and it will give us access to this, the Obertrites tribe. Just because while this is part of the Wendish Empire, it can't hurt us to have additional land. And if we're really lucky, we may be able to try and form the Kingdom of Pomerania and therefore become our own king. We'll detail how to do that without shedding duchies like crazy next time, if I remember it. But yeah, let's just call that there. I think I've talked for long enough. If you've got any questions, comments, demands, feel free to leave those in the comments list below. Throw me a like if you liked it. And yeah, I'll see you next time. So, I've been Sub. You've been yourselves. Later.